how delegation, for example, sounds logical, but emotionally it's about trust and control, right? What's the hardest thing for you to let go as a leader?
It's not letting go, it's moving on, right? When I'm moving on, it's a conscious choice, right? I wouldn't call delegation as letting go, because I always think when people give that as an advice that you should just let go, especially I'm thinking from a founder's perspective, right? Not so
Yes.
much, I mean, my opinion and my experience, right?
Sure.
It's all so much ego involved in that I've started this and I'm going to make it successful,
That's
right?
right.
So I can't really trust anybody else. It's so hard. And so letting go part without knowing whether it is going to succeed or not is very hard.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to Bold Conscious Connections. So this channel is dedicated to exploring the journeys of visionary leaders, entrepreneurs who really dare to follow their dreams, their passions, and create really impactful businesses. So if you're looking to become an entrepreneur or otherwise seeking inspiration to elevate your career, well, you're in the right place, my friend. So on this channel, what I do is we delve into strategies, mindsets, stories behind the success of those that have done this before, like I have. You never know how you meet people. This lady here, who I have as a guest today, Surabhi Shenoy, is a force of nature as I see it. I always like to bring women on who are some kind of reflective of a force of nature. So first of all, Surabhi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Raju. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not going to butcher introductions, etc., because I know you're an entrepreneur. You've got 2 companies I think you founded and sold, and here you are trying to help other founders and CEOs through coaching and others to get them to find their way, if you will. So let's start with, and this is a question I ask pretty much everyone, and so this is nothing new. So Surabhi, for all that you've done in your life thus far, and you're probably going to do a lot more, behind all that, who is Surabhi?
That's a deep question. And I would term myself as somebody who's present. That's it.
Present.
My whole present, as in present to life, present to the opportunity, present to performance. And the whole point, I think, I don't dwell into too much of future, too much of past, too much of I want to be here. When I carry that thought predominantly, not all the time it's possible, but predominantly, I must say, I perform better. I think it's a collective force of me, and everything that I have learned so far shows up. Every coaching conversation, my effort attempt is to be present as much. Building businesses, I could be pulling my hair, but I'm trying to be present, So I would say I would term myself as somebody who's present. I want to be more present.
Well, isn't that everybody's aspiration? I mean, we all want to be present, but we get our thoughts and our overthinking gets us nowhere. And then we realize that you're whittling away your present moments. So that's really well said. So you teach founders on how to free up their time, but has there been a time in your life where you had, success, money, and autonomy, etc., but you still felt the least free? And if so, what trapped you?
There was a time from 2007 to 2012 when I was running operations for 2 businesses, high growth, at a time. One was extremely retail service business, one was a tech company. So I clearly remember the date and time and where I was, how I was, when I realized that I cannot sustain this anymore. And because it was a fitness business, I used to be there 6 a.m. till 11 at night almost. And it was a joke when people would say, Surabhi, how come you're so slim? Because then the joke is, I stay in the gym for 12 hours. That would be the never working out, but staying
just
there
managing and running the show.
All those things. And I think, necessity is the mother of all invention. This wasn't invention in the worldly way, but it was an invention for me. How do I get out of this, right? But so freedom, I think, is such a core important value for me. I mean, that's where we kind of connected. And it was a very conscious decision to build all businesses self-funded, not really give away our freedom, free of time, free of commitments, yes, because when we take money from customers, we are committed and therefore that bondage is there. But then can we create systems, design things around us? It will be a momentary, it will be for a time period, and then we have a way out of getting out of it. So, and then if I'm working, like I recently launched my course, and yes, I worked almost 18 hours for last 2 weeks.
Right.
But
Yeah.
because I want certain quality, I want things to go in certain way. And even that was a fun. So there was a freedom in that time bondage. And
Sure.
now when it is done, I am free having this nice chat with you. So there was a time, and the course is designed, I mean, it is through my experience. And because I have struggled with this, and now when every founder who comes in front of me with great ambitious plans, but when we start on any initiative, they just can't fit it into their calendar, and more than that, in their headspace. When do I think about this? I've tried giving them 1 hour in the morning, set it for top goal, right? Just focus on that 1 hour, do this. But morning 7:30, a client call. How do you get out?
Yeah.
So that's why the course.
Okay, so we're going ahead of ourselves here for a second. So let's step back. So let's talk about, because for listeners, or really in this case viewers, what should they know about you and the businesses you've built? Because I didn't, it'll be all in the show notes, but let's just, why don't you give us a quick summary of, what you've done thus far, and then you just touched on your husband who passed away. Let's just go ahead, talk about that.
I'll keep it short. I'm a typical engineer. Give me a cubicle, give me a machine, and leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. Extreme introvert, extreme geek, sitting in my cubicle. But like I said, life happens. And the technology business was almost founded through us rather than by us. And
Well said.
we kind of kept showing up. 4 years later, second business was founded because my husband was a very frisky man. He cannot sit and do one thing. He will get easily bored. So the second business started, and I ended up looking after that business as well, because he's the one who will initiate, jump in, which I will never do. And I would be the one who will manage operations basically and grow the business.
So you had the gym business, and then you had this to get the same
tech business. Yeah. Tech business started first. I think I was still an engineer. We were still coding all hands on. And then when the fitness business happened, health and wellness, all different activities under it, I think that business was so pivotal in my transformation from engineer to an entrepreneur. Because until then, I was just comfortable doing my own project management and client deliveries for tech. And this was so different that I didn't know anything to do delivery per se. So I had to learn the business, and it was such a cash flow, a daily transaction fee business, extremely competitive. How do I package my services? So much learning. So 2012, somebody offered to acquire that. The first attempt failed because I was very naive. But then that kind of triggered a thought that maybe I want to go back full time to my tech company. So we pursued that thought, and the second attempt worked out, and I did better job in pitching my business, showing the potential and selling it. Went back full time to the tech business. We served India's top private sector banks, BFSI basically, and a lot of US startups. We worked in UAE here, again banks, NBFCs.
And what was the service you were offering through the tech?
So the business model, because we were self-funded, the business model was always in two legs. One is services, which gives me cash flow.
Sure.
And second one is where, using that cash flow and using that experience of serving banks, we knew what are the gaps, and therefore we built two fintech products.
I see.
So services would be, every bank needs a lot of applications to be developed, bespoke, custom made implementations for their internal purpose, either operations or innovation space, right? So we would help in that as services. And the fintech products, then that was my biggest valuation point, and plus the cash flow that it is built fully self-funded and 100% free. So that was the model, and that's how it worked. When everything was going great, we were really making good progress, is when in 2017, I lost my husband in an accident. So 40 minutes, my life completely changed. And it was, I think, my mother who kind of kept reminding me of my duty, responsibility, and I don't have a choice of curling in a ball and being on the bed. I have to go and do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, because so many people are looking up to me. And I think I just had to show up, so that when I did that, I think immense amount of support was gathered around me. And that carried me through. COVID happened, then 2020 is when somebody approached, if I ever want to exit, he will help me. And I started thinking about that because 4 years gone and I was kind of not feeling enough drive that I felt when we were doing this together. So that is when I thought maybe the company needs somebody bigger, better to do it, take it to next level. And 18 months later, I finally exited. All that experience now bringing to now this business, third venture, I wanted to work more for impact rather than bigger operation. I've done that many times. I didn't have the wherewithal to manage huge payroll and do those things. So finally decided to, and even opportunities came in such a way that I thought I can be useful in this space. My journey from engineer to entrepreneur was very hard. And I see founders struggle. They are experts, right? They are tech experts, they are finance experts, they are whatever experts.
They know everything.
But they just don't know how to really build a business and take it to a next level, even if they build. And so I help with revenue and profit and all of that to these founders. And that's the journey now.
Okay, so we'll talk more about that in a second because I know you launched a course recently. So we'll talk about that. It's called Founders Freedom Blueprint. So just wait before we dive into it. But thank you, first of all, for sharing that story. I know that, grief, having been through it, I know what it's like. But I can't imagine, losing him suddenly in an accident. So, but he was your business partner and life partner. While I guess there must have been many moments where time stood still for you, right? I mean, so was there a time where you were rebuilding, or as you say, you are present, so you move through life, fairly quickly, but as a person, it must have changed you. Can you comment on that?
100%. And rebuilding, if you look at the story journey so far, you will realize that in so many different ways, I lost my identity, right? I met my husband when I was 16. We got married when we were 25. I lost him when I was 42. So, and so losing him was losing the identity of being wife, being married to in that structure of marriage.
Sure.
So that collapsed. And then the decision of exiting from the business was another loss of identity in its own way. When I used to go to customer's place, imagine in India, right? Even the biggest of the banks, people would call me as Madam from Tejora has come, So they would not maybe call me as Surabhi and just make it singular, but they would my identity was that.
Yes.
And then when I was exiting again, I was losing that identity as well. So everything today that you see is, I think, rebuilding exercise, still work in progress. I can't say it's done. Yeah.
Well, it's moment to moment living, isn't it? So as you said, to be present, true. And you die each moment, you're born again each moment. So I get that for sure. So I don't know if people who are watching are really listening to this. Is very, very important lesson in life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how delegation, for example, sounds logical, but emotionally it's about the trust and control, right? Yeah. So what's the hardest thing for you to let go as a leader? But what happened when you finally did? Because you let go, in many ways.
It's not letting go, it's moving on, right?
Okay.
When I'm moving on, it's a conscious choice, right? If I'm letting go
Hopefully it's a conscious choice.
Yeah, I agree. But I wouldn't call delegation as letting go, because I always think when people give that as an advice that you should just let go, especially I'm thinking from a founder's perspective, right? Not so much, I mean, my opinion and my experience, right? Sure. It's all so much ego involved in that I've started this and I'm going to make it successful, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So I can't really trust anybody else. It's so hard. And so letting go part without knowing whether it is going to succeed or not is very hard for a founder. So the advice of letting go doesn't really work. I have to know it will be done, and it will be done in a quality and the way I have committed to my customers and taken money from them. Mm-hmm. So then I have a responsibility, and I have to decide and choose who am I giving this task or baton to.
Right.
And when we start a company, most of the time resources are limited, right? We don't have big money in our banks to pay bigger salaries. We need somebody who can do so many things at a time. And my biggest line, continuously, my line used to be, if I can do it, why can't he do it? You
That's right.
know, I used to struggle with that. And I'm not even trained for this. I'm not even an expert. But for me, stakes are so high that I enter and I just learn what is required to
Mm-hmm.
get this task done. And I come out and I finish it. And I will not stop until it is done. But when I give it to somebody else who's expert into one area
Mm-hmm.
and no other expertise in the other functions, that is where it gets stuck. So my advice, and which I talk about in the course also, is mainly look for T-shaped skills where there is an expertise, in deep expertise where you really look for, but have somebody who will have general. You cannot only hire experts and specialists. You need a generalist as well
Mm-hmm.
when you hire these people. So that's your core team, right? And I think I'm forgetting his name, Rob somebody. He built PayPal, he built LinkedIn,
Oh, yeah,
he was an
super.
operations guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he used to say that there are cannons and ammunition, and
Yes,
you need cannons. If you hire 10 more people, but you hire cannonballs,
that's right.
you have only one cannon.
That's right.
What's going to happen? Who's going to win the war? You know.
Yeah.
So you need to have multiple cannons, and if you hire them in a T-shaped skill set, I think it works very well, because then you have people to offload, and they don't get stuck because they understand only their function, but they understand other functions as well. It's a very harmonious team that gets built. So, and then I feel comfortable, confident to giving these tasks, holding them responsible and being available when needed. It's not letting go for me.
Where were you 20 years ago when I started my first business?
Where was I 20 years
No,
ago?
I'm just talking about me
20.
when I launched my 20 years ago, my first startup, my second, the third.
Okay, yes.
And
No, I
so
wasn't as wise as I'm today anyway.
it's okay.
So,
That's okay.
yeah.
We're all getting somewhat wise, hopefully. You say
True.
CEOs should be COOs, right? You said CEOs should not be COOs. So that's the point you just made, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. But most founders struggle to,
Yeah.
let go in the context of bringing somebody in, right? So what's the mindset shift that finally unlocks that transition?
See, this is need basis, right? I cannot make a blanket statement that CEOs cannot be CEOs. If you are fulfilling both roles, then in that case, demark your calendar that in this time I'm a creator builder, and in
That's
this
right.
time I'm a operator, because it's one needs very strategic and one needs
That's
very
right.
operational. One needs to be in a short term. How do I solve today's
That's
problem?
right.
And one needs to be so. Even if it is 2 hours in a week, I'm fine with it to
That's right.
start with. Then you build around that, right? And so it's a balancing act, and it takes time to finally get out
Sure.
of that and cross the line
Sure.
and build a team which is bigger and can really take the load.
So today is my manager day or operations day.
Yeah.
This is Alex Hormozy, right? Who gives us advice like this. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we need to get some time for a rapid fire. Hopefully you're okay with that. So what's a piece of leadership wisdom you once swore by, but later realized was completely wrong?
Oh. I read a lot of books in early years about culture, and it gave me an impression that when I'm thinking of culture, I'm being so caring for people in my company, giving them emotional, whatever, safe space,
Support and space,
and
yeah.
those kind of things. So that was my early on opinion, formed by many books and people around me, maybe leaders around me, and not their fault. This is my observation, which is only superficial, right? Like what I can see. But over a period, and especially as an employer who's responsible to take care of so many things, and my biggest responsibility is to keep this company profitable, cash flow positive, so that I can do my duty towards them, which is simply
Of course.
put, pay salaries on time, which many companies, believe me, are still not able to do.
Sure.
Small medium sized companies. And then year on year appraise them and increase the salary, even if my costs are increasing on the other side.
Sure.
Now and do this being nice to people, but that nice definition completely changed today. I would say it's not the same what I had in the beginning. People don't want you to be nice. They are strong already. They don't need, I mean, mental and emotional safety has gone to another extreme where employees have started holding company responsible for everything that is happening in their life, which is
That's
not
right.
right, I believe. And businesses are suffering because of this.
Absolutely.
But what is the biggest responsibility of an organization culture wise is to give an environment where they can thrive. And that means, if it means to push, let that happen. If it means not to be in a comfort zone, not to be only work life balance, there is no work life balance on daily basis.
That's right.
Overall, yes, but on daily basis, it's impossible because you have a customer delivery. The stock market prices will go down if you don't deliver tomorrow. So I think my definition of culture has completely changed, which was my misunderstanding. And today I feel I do it, understand it better. It's not a family environment that we are trying to create. We
Sure.
shouldn't.
Right. So going back to this show, this podcast that I do here, it's called Bold Conscious for a reason. Everything I do is bold conscious because I would like to think I'm attracting people who are more conscious, more aware of themselves, but are not bold enough to take the leap of whether to become an entrepreneur or to go live there. Basically, you also said earlier that, the technology company that you built was happening through you and your husband because it was somehow there was a force beyond what we recognized already placed in you as a responsibility to channel that, gift, if you will. And I always say that the wealthiest place on the planet is the graveyard, because most people die without expressing anything of what they've been given. So it's a responsibility in a way, right? So in that sense, what practices do you have, Surabhi, to stay present, stay grounded? Because it cannot just happen. You get up at 7:30 in the morning, as you said, there was a coaching call, and boom, you're suddenly, present. So comment on that.
I wrote about this in one of my newsletters. We are in 2025, and I can say that I have been journaling every day since 2012, for last 12 plus years. Out of 365 days, I can easily claim I have written every morning for 300 days. And it's a place for, I think, writing is clarity. And it channels everything that is muddling my mind, because there are so many decisions to be made on daily basis, small, medium, large. And sometimes you understand the repercussions of them if you make a wrong one. So the pressure of that is too high, and it needs to be put down on a paper or whatever, laptop, as in digital or whatever you feel comfortable. And I use both, and that has been a practice for my life. And if I don't write, I think in 3-4 days time I start feeling like there is so much of buildup in me that I need a whistle, pressure cooker whistle,
Right.
And the biggest benefit of this, whoever is listening, and if they take one thing out of this conversation, and I really want to encourage that, start doing this. Why? Because if I put in today's date, I use Evernote for my journaling process. If I put today's date, only date, so 11th March, right? So if I put in 11/03, that's my date format, I will get 1103 for last 12 years.
That's right.
What was my story on those days for last 12 years?
That's right. Awesome.
And it's such an insight. It's like a time capsule.
That's right.
Certain things you realize that how far I have come. Why am I complaining? What is this problem, Surabhi, here? Just can you appreciate? And some parts you realize I haven't changed at all. As in, what am I doing? And that gives such a perspective. I think people don't need therapy. People need clarity. And that clarity you can process for yourself every day-to-day basis. If you want to build a business, a successful business, write. That would be my process.
Awesome.
I meditate also, but I think writing is my most important thing. Yeah.
I would take it a step further and say write with your hand, because there's a neurological connection between your brain and rather than typing on a laptop. Although it really helps to have everything digitized, as you say, you can say 1103 and boy, everything comes up. So I have one of those.
There are times when I'm do you write? As in, do you journal?
Every single day.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So that's the clarity,
and it shows up on LinkedIn. A lot of that.
Oh my God. Okay, that way, yeah. And
my daily posts are about reflection and how far I've come or how far I need to go. And in certain ways, as you say, we're still stuck because that's your core, either a value or a core person, that some things are not going to change because that's who you are. And why would I want to change who I really am at the core, right? So
true.
So
definitely. Yeah.
So I know you said you sat behind a cubicle and you would be the engineer in the old days, and you've grown so much. So you're obviously bold. So what got you to be really say, okay, I got to take that leap and I'm going to do this?
I will put it back to just need of the hour,
Being
when you show
present.
up and this is what is required at this point in time, and therefore you just do it. That's the call for duty. And in small little ways, we are called for. And natural instinct is still stay at home and chill, read a
That's
book,
right. That's right.
not go out. But if I'm supposed to go out to present something, I will. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the time before we transition to rapid fire. If you want to talk about your course, Founders Freedom Blueprint, which I said we will talk about. So go ahead. This is your time to plug.
Course is a very teeny tiny first step of the entire journey. My experience of coaching these founders is they have extremely ambitious goals. They are extremely driven and they want to change the world in their own sweet way.
Sure.
But they just don't know how to get out of their working in the business space. And that's natural because they started it. They were like 2 people team maybe. And now they're stuck. And I feel that I'm not able to give the real work and real message done that they should do because they are not able to get out of this. So this is my way of, and my one-on-one clients have been using this system in one way or the other.
That's right.
So it was just natural for me to create this into a course because anybody who's going to come and build a business will need this because there will be a phase, 0 to 1 journey is done. You're at the end of 1. Now 1 to 10 journey, you don't know how to get out of this space.
That's right.
So that if I can say that this is the journey, if you are going from 0.8 to 1.2 in a pure mathematical way, then do the course and then you will be able to really jump over. The mid part valley comes very stark. So you need some kind of instrument to go over.
Can you just give a little highlight, maybe your sales page type of highlight of what it is?
So the course actually, first thing we do is time audit. Every founder that I start working with, also I ask for, I want 2 weeks of your timesheet period. I don't think, just give me timesheet. So we kind of do a time audit in the course itself.
You mean calendar, then, whatever they're doing, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So if they have in last 1 week, what are the tasks? Group them. Say that I had these client meeting, I had these many proposals made, I had X number of interviews done. I sat with HR doing whatever things. My website crashed and I had to look after that. All crisis, all planned, all unplanned, all of that.
Sure. Yeah.
Write it down. Just for 1 week maybe. And put in the number of hours that you spent in front of each one. And then the next part where I believe that energy is our biggest leverage.
Sure.
We all have equal amount of time. So, and not all tasks are same for every individual. A graphic designer do not enjoy numbers. And if you give an accounting work to a graphic designer, he will be exhausted. He or she will be exhausted in 10 minutes and still not perform. You give it to an accountant, he will be charged, right? So there are energizers and drainers in our tasks. So if we really understand what my patterns are, then I can highlight what does most make sense that I should be delegating. So if there is a drainer and that I can delegate to, then I have more capacity to work on energizer. And if I work for 10 hours, I can work for more 5 hours because I'm working on my energizer. So that's the second part that I bring in. Third is the, how do you make decisions based on, now these 2 are for you. The next is for business. What's the highest impact work? What is the effort required for it? So how do you prioritize your task? That's what we talk about. And then the core team building, because I think most founders, they start with 1 or 2 guys, but now they struggle to build their core leadership team. So how do you choose these people and how do you really absorb them, induct them in the company with your values and then give that freedom to them? And then finally, we put in everything in the implementation phase where from 0 day, what can you delegate from tomorrow to what can you delegate over 90 days time after you maybe train, systematize, and then hand over your maker checker so that nothing goes down. So I give a system basically to go from overworked to then have free time and then do whatever you want to do. I have my founders, I'm getting on dinner table every evening at 8 o'clock. My wife wants to thank you. Sure. To every version of it, That's what we do in the course.
That's right.
I talk about how to build a company operating system because that's required for them to make decisions.
Sure.
And a lot of these kind of things, I'm offering group call once a month. So that it's not just accountability is the biggest thing of coaching, right?
Isn't
you know it?
Yes, absolutely.
So just dumping the course on them is not going to help, I realize. So I'm kind of supporting via
So
a monthly call.
who are your typical like for this course now that it's been launched? What are the typical people what founders have they been around for a while? Are they brand new or they're about to start? What stage are they in?
They can't be, I mean, they need to have some kind of product service that they are selling. They have few customers who are
They've already
calling
launched.
them.
They've
Yes.
already launched. Okay.
Yeah, they have already launched. Yeah. So like, that's why I said 0.8 to 1.2. If you
Okay.
think about 0 to 1, 1 to
Yeah.
10. So if you are in the range of jumping from 1 to 10 now, that's the right
That's
pace.
when
You
you
have a
need
5,
the
7
little.
people team. You're on the path
Okay.
to expansion.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're getting to rapid fire, but maybe one of the first things before I leave that is, if your life was a book, Surabhi, what's the title of this chapter? Because you're still in your life and you have many more years to go.
I think enjoy each moment, as in, I mean, that's the whole point. I kind of feel like if I'm doing it, I think after second exit, the first January entry of my thing is, if it ain't fun, I'm not doing it, was my tagline.
Well,
And I stand by that.
That's right.
Yeah. Otherwise, it feels, and in the moment, it may not be fun, but when you kind of review, reassess, it should feel like, yeah, I had good fun.
Awesome. Okay, let's go. Fast one this time.
Otherwise, it feels, and in the moment, it may not be fun, but when you kind of review, reassess, it should feel like, yeah, I had good fun.
Awesome. Okay, let's go. Fast one this time. First question: what's a belief about success you no longer hold true?
That it's outside.
Okay. What's one habit that has changed everything for you?
Journaling.
Yeah. So some of this may be repetitive, but it's okay. What's a decision? And you don't have to do one-word answers. This is just rapid. So it's just okay.
Okay. Yeah.
What's a decision that shaped your life, Surabhi, without you realizing at the time?
I'm going to do it because I want to do it. Because I want to do it. Not because anything. I wanted to do things and therefore I did them. There was no explanation. There was no logic at that time.
Okay.
But I think again it comes back to me wanting to have fun.
That's right. Well, I'm just learning about you wanting to have fun. That's good. One thing you had to unlearn to grow.
Unlearn to grow. Okay. Sorry, I'm not getting the question there.
In other words, in order to grow, there's something you had to unlearn. Again, it's sort of the belief that you had, and now it's no longer a belief, but it's like unlearning. Oh, this is what I was learning and doing, and then I realized that's not how it works.
No, I think it's a journey. I don't have all experiences, all good and bad. I want to be more of a witnesser than anything else. If I suffer, I suffer. Yes.
Yeah.
It's I'm labeling it as a suffering. It's not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in binary anymore. For example, I don't do good, bad, and this is right, that's wrong, because everything is right or wrong at the same time sometimes. So, who knows? What emotion do you still wrestle with?
Impatience.
That's also a shared one. Okay. What's one thing about leadership you never expected?
Vulnerability.
Oh, talk about that more.
So in early days, that would be a good answer to what I believed before and what I believe now.
Okay.
Connecting it with that. But I think growing up, reading a lot of history books, kings and the wars and everything, you kind of believe that leader is a very stoic person, cannot express, cannot kind of get on the knees and say, I don't know. And I have no answer. I never experienced that in everything that I read in the beginning and whatever I learned. But the more I understood emotional intelligence, the more I understood the humaneness that is required to be presented in a way where team can really see me and experience me and therefore stand next to me. And I think that showcase is very strategically, though. I'm not saying scare them off that what is this leader who doesn't know anything kind of way, but people take it to real extremes. I've seen that also, but in a way where you can really connect. And in today's world, maybe in the kings in the history, the power was the driver, right? For them,
Yeah.
they were their teams.
Yeah.
Like there's a pedestal.
Yeah.
Today we are all, I consider even coaching is a thinking partnership. There is not like I know something better than
That's
them.
right.
They are expert in their own areas and ways. So I think vulnerability is something that I never thought that is such an important facet of a leader's personality
Right.
that needs to be showcased. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, this maybe sounds mundane, but what's the hardest thing to delegate?
What is the hardest thing to delegate? To the right person, not much, maybe. You can delegate. It's just a choice that what you enjoy doing, do you want to really give that to somebody? That's where the attachment may come.
Right. So
That is
what
the
do you
place where the
enjoy that you
letting go
don't?
needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay, so what does Surabhi don't keeps to herself and doesn't like to delegate? 'Cause
Writing.
it's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In today's time, I would say writing. So many ghostwriters, so many people, oh, we will write for you. And one time I thought maybe I can take some help, because I write every day on LinkedIn. I write newsletter weekly, and it's very intense, the research required.
Sure.
But then when they write, I just can't relate to it. I have to do it on my own. I can struggle with it, but I'm happy with that struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one thing you still haven't figured out?
I have a mantra in my head, and especially after bringing in losing my husband here, because there was so much to learn, right? Like there was a huge, like a vacuum, and the word I'm looking for is really a big gap between what I'm supposed to be and what I know, right? Like he looked after finance, he looked after all other side of other than operations delivery, and I had, if you ask, say debit and credit, I would, my eyebrows would go like this, that which one goes where. I was that ignorant about finance of this whole business side of it. And I just used to continuously say, I will figure this out. I'll figure this out.
Sure.
And today I say everything is figure outable.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Anything new comes in, we'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. Okay. If you ask your future self one thing, what would it be?
I won't ask anything. I'll just say, pleasure to meet you.
Good. Look how far you've come. Okay. All right. What's a question you wish people asked you more? Or maybe I could have asked you that I didn't?
Oh, your questions are very introspective. All these. What question? I think you covered most of them. And
Or people that wish you wish people would ask you more of?
No. The philosophy is never answer a question that is not asked. So
Good. And you don't know
even in coaching,
what's not
right?
being asked.
Yeah.
You don't know what's not being asked.
Yeah. And because if the question is not there, then me answering it really doesn't matter in any possible way, maybe. So yeah.
Hey, listen, this is all you. So that's a fine answer. There's nobody to judge here. This is you.
Yeah.
Well, in the spirit of gratitude, again, thank you for being on this episode here and on the show. And, is there something you discovered in this call in the last, 40 minutes or so?
Thank you so much. And like I said, your questions have been introspective. Maybe I'm going to listen to this and think about these questions a little more deeply, and I may have better ansers, especially the rapid fire
welcome to come
ones.
back, Surabhi, because I just enjoy conversations.
Thank you for having me.
I'm hoping that we listeners in particular, which is why we do all this, is that I'm sure they got a lot out of this, some of the stories and the ups and downs of life, which are so sometimes radical, and we don't know what people's journeys are going to be. So be present. I think that's the message that I got for this one, for me. So really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
And I must say I had good fun.
Good.
Being here. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Really appreciate it.
All the best with your new course.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, my friend, for tuning in to another episode of Bold Conscious Connections. If you really enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, please, and subscribe for more inspiring stories and insights from top entrepreneurs and leaders. So that button is right below here. So join our vibrant community of individuals who are out there making a difference. Okay? Stay tuned for more amazing conversation that will inspire and empower you.
And until next time, remember, live boldly and consciously, my friend.